Imagine capturing a seemingly ordinary moment on camera, only to discover something terrifying hiding in the footage. People record their daily lives for fun, for memories, or even as proof of their existence, but sometimes the lens reveals what the naked eye cannot see. Strange shadows, eerie figures, unexplained movements, and chilling sounds have all been caught unexpectedly by those who thought they were simply recording themselves. From harmless pranks to genuinely disturbing encounters, these videos often leave viewers questioning reality and their own perceptions. What starts as a casual selfie, a vlog, or a nighttime experiment can quickly transform into evidence of the unexplained. Tonight, we will explore the top 10 creepiest things people have ever found while recording themselves. These are not staged videos or fictional stories. These are real instances where ordinary individuals captured the extraordinary, the unsettling, and the inexplicable. Prepare to witness moments that will make you check your surroundings twice. Shadow figure in the hallway. A young woman in England decided to record her evening routine for a vlog, documenting herself cooking, tidying her home, and chatting about her day. She had always enjoyed filming herself, often sharing the clips with her friends or posting them online, but what she discovered later left her horrified. While reviewing the footage, she noticed a shadowy figure standing in the hallway behind her, appearing briefly and moving slightly. At first, she assumed it was a trick of the light or a reflection from passing headlights outside her window. However, the shadow did not match any object in her home. When she paused and analyzed the video frame by frame, the figure seemed humanoid but lacked distinct features. It had the general shape of a person, but appeared darker than the surroundings, almost absorbing the light. The movement was subtle, a slight swaying, yet it clearly shifted position between frames. What made the discovery even more chilling was that she lived alone and had locked all doors and windows before filming. There were no pets, and the angles clearly showed that the hallway had no access points from outside. Friends and online viewers who saw the footage were divided. Some thought it was a shadow cast by an unknown object or a glitch in the camera sensor, while others insisted it was a genuine paranormal encounter. The woman later reported feeling uneasy in her home after the recording, claiming to hear faint whispers and footsteps where none should exist. Experts analyzing the footage suggested it was unlikely to be manipulated, highlighting the unnerving possibility that the figure was something beyond normal explanation. This experience transformed what began as a casual recording into a deeply unsettling encounter, reminding us that sometimes the camera captures things our eyes cannot perceive. The stranger in the window. A man in the United States decided to film himself setting up a time lapse of his apartment at night. He enjoyed experimenting with photography and often recorded his living space while away at work or running errands to see how lighting changed over time. On one evening, he set up his camera near the living room window, planning to capture the movement of city lights outside while he relaxed and worked on his laptop. Later, while reviewing the footage, he noticed something strange: a figure standing outside, pressed against the glass, staring directly at the camera. At first, he assumed it was a reflection of himself or a passerby from the street, but the timing was off. The figure appeared when he was clearly sitting on his couch and visible from the camera's angle. Zooming in, he realized the person was not simply walking by. They lingered, their face partially obscured by shadows but eyes seemingly fixed on the lens. Panic set in as he realized that the figure was outside his second-story window, where no one could easily stand without climbing. He immediately checked his security doors and found no sign of forced entry, yet the recorded footage did not lie. The figure appeared multiple times in the time lapse, shifting slightly, almost as if pacing, before disappearing entirely after a few seconds. He shared the footage online, and viewers quickly pointed out that the figure's proportions and posture seemed off, unnaturally rigid and almost lifeless, which only intensified the eeriness. Experts analyzing similar cases suggested it might have been an intruder, a neighbor, or even a reflection of some unknown source, but the impossibility of access made it particularly chilling. The man eventually installed additional cameras and security systems, and although he never saw the stranger in person again, the memory of those seconds captured on film haunted him. The unnerving aspect of this encounter is not only the visual presence of the figure, but also the psychological impact. He found himself constantly checking windows and doors, wondering if someone, or something, was watching him from the shadows. The incident highlights a terrifying truth. Sometimes cameras capture moments we are completely unaware of, preserving the evidence of unseen watchers that remain invisible in real life. This footage became an internet sensation, prompting debate among skeptics and paranormal enthusiasts alike. But for the man, it was a deeply personal and unsettling experience that changed the way he viewed his home and his safety. Ghostly hand on the shoulder. In a small town in Japan, a young woman was experimenting with vlogging in her bedroom late at night. She often recorded herself sharing thoughts about her day or practicing storytelling techniques for social media. One night, she decided to film while sitting at her desk, adjusting the lighting for better effect. She felt alone, as she always did during these sessions, and nothing seemed out of place. When reviewing the footage, she noticed something that made her freeze in horror. While she was speaking, a shadowy hand appeared on her shoulder, resting lightly, as if someone had been standing behind her. The hand was not fully visible in the frame, only partially illuminated by the desk lamp, but it was undeniably present. At first, she assumed it was a trick of the light or her imagination, but the footage was steady, recorded on a tripod, with no one else in the room. She replayed the video multiple times, watching the hand press down for a second before disappearing completely. When she turned slightly to adjust her camera, the hand's movement was subtle but deliberate, following the contours of her shoulder in a way that suggested intent. She later showed the footage to friends and family who were equally unsettled, with many claiming it looked as though someone, or something, had deliberately interacted with her. The woman reported that following the recording, she felt a lingering presence in the room. Doors would creak open by themselves, lights flickered, and she sometimes sensed pressure near her shoulder as though the hand had returned in spirit form. Paranormal experts who reviewed the footage suggested that it could be residual energy, a poltergeist, or a spirit attracted to the camera's presence, while skeptics suggested camera malfunctions or shadows from nearby objects. The consistency and clarity of the hand's appearance, combined with the events that followed, left many unconvinced by mundane explanations. This incident serves as a chilling reminder of how recording ourselves can sometimes capture the invisible. While the woman intended to create harmless content for her viewers, the camera documented a moment she could not perceive in real time. A ghostly touch preserved on film. The footage has since circulated online as one of the most unsettling examples of paranormal interaction caught during self-recording, demonstrating that even in familiar spaces, the unknown may be closer than we think. Unexplained face in the mirror. A young man in Canada decided to document his evening skincare routine, casually filming himself in front of the bathroom mirror. He had always enjoyed vlogging mundane tasks, often recording reflections to analyze lighting and angles for his online content. On this particular night, he noticed nothing unusual and continued speaking casually to the camera, washing his face and brushing his teeth. However, when reviewing the footage the next day, he noticed something that immediately made his stomach turn. In the reflection of the mirror, behind him for just a split second appeared a face, not his own and not anyone he knew. It was pale, gaunt, and distorted, with deep, set eyes that seemed to stare directly at the lens. The face lingered for barely half a second before vanishing, yet the camera had clearly captured it. At first, he assumed it was a trick of lighting or a smudge on the mirror, but frame-by-frame analysis revealed that the shape moved independently and had features inconsistent with shadows or reflections. The most chilling part was that he lived alone in his apartment and had locked all doors and windows, making the presence of anyone else physically impossible. The young man shared the footage online, where viewers immediately pointed out the unnatural characteristics. The face had no neck, moved slightly differently than a human would, and appeared almost two-dimensional, as though it had been imprinted onto reality itself. Paranormal experts analyzing similar cases suggested it could be a residual apparition, a phenomenon where intense emotions or past trauma imprint on physical spaces, later detectable by sensitive recording equipment. The man reported feeling a cold presence in the bathroom afterward, often catching glimpses of movement out of the corner of his eye, and hearing faint whispers when alone. Even after thoroughly cleaning the mirror and examining the room for ordinary explanations, the eerie feeling remained. This experience illustrates how recording oneself can inadvertently reveal hidden layers of reality. Ordinary, familiar environments may hold unexplained presences that only cameras, with their unique perception of light and time, can capture. What began as a casual skincare video became an unsettling record of the impossible, leaving the man haunted and his viewers unsettled, questioning the boundaries between the visible and the invisible. The distorted voice on audio. In a small apartment in Japan, a college student decided to test a new recording setup for her personal vlog. She placed the microphone on her desk and began narrating her day, speaking directly to the camera. Everything seemed normal during the recording, and she finished the session without noticing anything unusual. However, when reviewing the audio tracks later that night, she heard something chilling amid her own voice. A distorted whisper could be heard, speaking in a language she did not understand. The sound was low, gravelly, and unmistakably human, though the words were unintelligible. She paused the video repeatedly, certain that the microphone had picked up a neighbor or some external noise, but the audio originated entirely from the recording itself. The whisper appeared sporadically, sometimes overlapping with her own sentences, and seemed to react to her speech, almost as if responding. The unsettling realization dawned on her that no one was in the apartment at the time, and the microphone had not been tampered with. She shared the recording with friends, some of whom claimed they could faintly hear patterns in the whispers, resembling an unknown dialect or an ancient language. Others suggested it could be an electronic anomaly, a glitch caused by interference, but the timing and subtle inflections implied a presence actively engaging with the recording. The student later attempted further experiments, recording herself in the same environment with multiple devices, and discovered that the distorted voice persisted, sometimes even mimicking the pitch and tone of her speech. This suggested that the phenomenon was connected to the recording process or possibly something interacting with her energy or environment during filming. Paranormal investigators who reviewed the footage noted that certain energies, often associated with restless spirits or residual phenomena, can interact with electronic devices producing audio or visual anomalies. This incident serves as a reminder that recording oneself is not always passive. The act of documenting reality can draw attention from forces we do not understand. What seems like a casual, everyday action, speaking to a camera, sharing thoughts, or recording mundane activities, can expose us to disturbances from unseen sources. The student, once enthusiastic about vlogging, became hesitant to record alone at night, haunted by the knowledge that her own voice had unknowingly invited an unknown presence into the digital space. This audio clip remains one of the most unnerving examples of inexplicable interaction captured during self-recording. proving that sometimes the things we cannot see are the most terrifying. The mysterious figure behind the couch, a college student in the United States, had recently started filming herself for a lifestyle vlog. One evening, she decided to record while tidying her living room, talking casually to the camera about her day. The room was dimly lit with only a desk lamp casting soft light across the space, creating gentle shadows. She moved around the room, picking up books and adjusting cushions, completely unaware of what the camera would later reveal. When she reviewed the footage, she noticed something that immediately caused a chill. Behind the couch, a dark, human-shaped figure appeared fleetingly. At first, she thought it was a trick of the light, a shadow cast by a floor lamp or a piece of furniture. But as she watched frame by frame, it became clear that the figure moved independently of any object in the room. It had a humanoid form but lacked discernible facial features. Its proportions seemed slightly off, elongated and unnaturally thin, giving it an almost grotesque appearance. The figure only appeared briefly, lingering for a second or two before disappearing completely, yet its presence was unmistakable. The student lived alone and had locked all doors and windows, and there was no way anyone could have been in the room without her noticing. Friends who saw the footage online described an intense feeling of being watched, even through a screen. Paranormal experts analyzing the video suggested that the figure could be a residual apparition or an intelligent entity aware of the camera, using the act of recording as a way to manifest itself. After the discovery, the student reported subtle disturbances in her apartment. She began hearing faint noises behind her when no one was there, footsteps, the soft shifting of objects, and occasional whispers. Lights would flicker without explanation, and she sometimes felt a cold presence near the couch, especially when she was alone in the room. She never saw the figure with her naked eye, but the camera had captured what she could not perceive in real time. This experience underscores the unsettling idea that cameras can reveal layers of reality invisible to human perception. What started as a casual recording of her routine transformed into an encounter with the unknown, captured in detail on video. For the student, the footage became more than content. It became evidence of a presence she could not explain, leaving her wary of filming alone and haunted by the shadows her camera revealed. The creepy reflection in the window. In a small town in England, a young man decided to record a nighttime video in his bedroom. He set up a camera near his window to capture the glowing streetlights and the occasional passing car. While speaking casually to the lens, he thought nothing of it, fully confident that the room was empty and safe. However, when he reviewed the footage the next morning, he noticed something that made him freeze. In the reflection of the window, behind him appeared a pale, gaunt face. It was not a reflection of himself, nor did it resemble anyone he knew. The face was partially obscured by the darkness outside, yet its eyes were unnervingly bright, staring directly at the camera. It remained visible for a brief moment before vanishing entirely, leaving no trace of its existence in the room. At first, he considered that it could have been someone outside, but the angle of the window and the fact that he lived on the second floor made that impossible. The camera clearly captured a presence that could not have been there physically. Upon closer inspection, he noticed subtle movements. The face slightly shifted, blinked, and appeared almost sentient, aware of being recorded. Paranormal experts reviewing the footage noted that such appearances are sometimes associated with residual hauntings or entities drawn to human attention. The fact that the face appeared specifically when the camera was recording suggested that the act of self-documentation might have triggered its manifestation. This phenomenon, where entities interact more readily with recording devices, has been observed in other unexplained cases, highlighting a chilling link between human observation and paranormal activity. After discovering the footage, The young man reported several unsettling occurrences in his home. Objects would occasionally move slightly on their own. Shadows shifted unnaturally in the corners of his room, and he often felt the sensation of being watched while alone. Though he never saw the face with his own eyes again, the video served as undeniable evidence of a presence beyond ordinary explanation. The footage went viral online, sparking debates about its authenticity. Skeptics proposed camera glitches or reflections from distant lights, but the consistency of the face's movements and its responsiveness to the recording suggested something far more disturbing. This incident illustrates a terrifying reality. While humans rely on their eyes to perceive the world, cameras may capture what the naked eye cannot, revealing hidden presences and interactions that remain otherwise invisible. For the young man, what began as a casual nighttime recording became a chilling encounter with the inexplicable, forever altering his perception of safety and solitude. The camera, intended as a tool for documentation and entertainment, became a window into the unknown, showing him a layer of reality that exists alongside ours but is usually hidden from sight. The shadow moving across the ceiling. A woman in Australia decided to film herself cleaning her apartment late at night. She had recently started documenting her daily life for a personal vlog, enjoying the process of speaking directly to the camera while performing mundane tasks. On this particular evening, the room was dimly lit with only a single ceiling lamp, casting long shadows across the walls. She moved around, picking up items and dusting shelves, completely unaware of what her camera would capture. When reviewing the footage the next morning, she noticed something deeply unsettling. A dark shadow slowly moved across the ceiling, distinct from any light obstruction or ceiling fixture. Initially, she assumed it was a trick of the lamp, a shadow caused by her own movements, or a ceiling fan she had forgotten to turn off. But as she played the video frame by frame, it became evident that the shadow's movement was independent of her or any objects in the room. It glided smoothly across the ceiling, paused for a brief moment, and then vanished entirely. What made the footage particularly chilling was the lack of explanation. The woman lived alone, with no pets, and all windows and doors were securely locked. Friends who saw the video immediately commented on the unnatural motion and the eerie way the shadow seemed to pause mid-air before disappearing. Paranormal experts suggested that such phenomena could be the result of residual energy imprints, entities interacting with recording equipment, or unexplained manifestations that cameras can sometimes detect more clearly than human eyes. Following this discovery, the woman reported feeling watched whenever she entered the room, often sensing a presence above her, even when no one was there. Lights would occasionally flicker, and objects would slightly shift without explanation. Though she never witnessed the shadow moving in real time, the camera captured undeniable evidence of something anomalous. The experience transformed what was intended as a simple self-recording session into a terrifying encounter with the unknown. The unknown figure in the backyard. In the United States, a man decided to record himself jogging in his backyard during the early evening. He wanted to test his new action camera, capturing his workout for personal records and social media. The yard was fenced, with no easy access for strangers, and the man had taken care to ensure all gates were locked before filming. While running, he casually spoke to the camera, reviewing his form and breathing technique. Upon later reviewing the footage, he noticed a figure standing at the far end of the yard. The figure was barely visible, partially obscured by the shadows of trees, but it was unmistakably humanoid. Initially, he assumed it was a neighbor or someone passing by, but the figure did not move in a way consistent with ordinary human behavior. It remained stationary for several seconds, then disappeared from view entirely, with no noise, rustling, or movement through the fence that could indicate physical entry. Frame by Frame analysis revealed that the figure was slightly distorted, with elongated limbs and an oddly proportioned body. Its posture was unnaturally rigid, yet it seemed aware of the camera, tilting its head slightly as if observing the recording. The man shared the footage online, and many viewers were immediately unsettled, describing the figure as something not entirely human. Paranormal investigators noted that the placement and posture of the figure suggested intelligent intent, rather than a simple shadow or trick of the camera lens. The man reported unsettling events following the recording. At night, he would hear faint footsteps and feel the sensation of being watched while alone in his home. Objects in his yard were occasionally found in slightly different positions, and lights flickered without explanation. Though he never saw the figure again, the video remained a haunting record of its presence, confirming that the camera had captured what he could not perceive in real time. This case highlights the terrifying potential of self-recording. What we assume to be empty space may hide entities or phenomena beyond normal understanding. Cameras can reveal these anomalies, preserving evidence that challenges conventional explanations and reminding us that reality may contain layers we cannot directly observe. For the man, a routine workout video became a chilling encounter with the unexplained, illustrating that even ordinary moments can hide extraordinary and terrifying discoveries. The eerie laughter in the dark. A teenager in New York decided to record herself walking through her basement late at night. She had recently purchased a new camera and wanted to document her exploration of the space, which she found fascinating because of the old family items stored there. The basement was dimly lit, with only a single light bulb flickering overhead, casting uneven shadows along the walls. As she moved the camera, chatting casually about old boxes and forgotten furniture, she noticed nothing unusual at the time. However, upon reviewing the footage later, she heard something that made her blood run cold. In the background, faint and barely audible, was a high-pitched, childlike laughter. At first, she assumed it was her imagination or perhaps a recording artifact caused by the camera's microphone. But the laughter continued intermittently, appearing at moments when no one could possibly be present. Frame-by-frame analysis revealed subtle, almost imperceptible shadows shifting across the floor as if an unseen presence was moving while laughing. The laughter was not just random, it seemed almost playful, yet deeply menacing. It echoed softly through the basement, fading in and out in ways that suggested a sentient source.